Gotham City had seen many things fall from the sky. Meteors, alien invaders, occasionally Superman. When Darkseid decided Earth needed reminding of its vulnerability, but it had never seen anything like the rift that tore open above Crime Alley at 2:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The dimensional wound didn't announce itself with thunder or celestial fanfare. It simply opened, a slash of green-red energy that looked like infected flesh stretched too tight. Reality screamed. The sound wasn't audible to human ears, but every magic user on the eastern seaboard felt it. A wrongness, a violation of the fundamental laws that kept dimensions separate and hell where it belonged. From that wound, something fell. He hit the pavement hard enough to crater the asphalt, landing in a three-point stance that spoke of countless similar arrivals. My armored boots cracked the street. Gauntleted fists left imprints in concrete. And when he rose to his full height, easily 6'8" in the Praetor suit, the few witnesses who hadn't fled felt their courage die in their throats. The armor was like nothing on Earth. Green and bronze plates interlocked with technological precision that made Wayne Tech look primitive, covered in scratches and scorch marks that spoke of battles beyond human comprehension. The helmet's visor glowed with pitiless green light, and across his back hung weapons that defied conventional design. A shotgun with what looked like a grappling hook attachment, a blade that hummed with energy even while sheathed, and something that resembled a rocket launcher fused with an assault rifle. The Doomslayer scanned his surroundings with methodical precision. Tall buildings, or urban environment, smelled like humanity, fear, pollution, desperation. But underneath, something else. Sulfur, brimstone, the unmistakable psychic stench of demonic corruption. Good. He'd followed the demons through the hell portal, pursuing them through dimensional barriers as he'd done for eons. They thought they could escape. They were wrong. They always were. Whether this was another hell dimension, a pocket realm, or some demon lord's personal torture chamber didn't matter. The mission remained unchanged. Rip and tear until it is done. 3 blocks away, in the Batcave, alarms shrieked to life. "Alfred!" Batman's voice was clipped, controlled, but edged with urgency as seismic sensors, dimensional monitoring equipment, and 3 separate satellite feeds all registered the same impossible event. "We have a breach." "So it would appear, Master Bruce." Alfred Pennyworth's tone remained unflappable, despite the data scrolling across multiple screens. "The energy signature is unusual. It bears similarities to Trigon's dimensional transits. But the resonance is all wrong. More violent, more focused." Batman was already moving toward the Batmobile, cape billowing. "Alert the League. Tell them we have an unknown hostile in Gotham, possibly demonic in origin. High power level. I'm en route to..." "Sir, I'm detecting weapons fire." On the screen, thermal imaging showed the armored figure raising what appeared to be a double-barreled shotgun. But the targets weren't Gotham's usual criminals. Crawling from the sewers, oozing from shadows that hadn't existed moments before, came demons. Not metaphorical demons, actual, literal hellspawn. Lesser demons, the kind that normally required Constantine or Zatanna to banish. But demons nonetheless. They must have followed through the rift, or perhaps been drawn to the dimensional wound like flies to a carcass. They never stood a chance. The Slayer's shotgun roared, a sound like worlds ending. The first demon exploded into meat and bone fragments. The second lost everything above the waist. The third barely had time to shriek before the Slayer closed the distance with inhuman speed, grabbed its head, and twisted hard enough to separate spine from skull. But instead of collapsing, the Slayer seemed to absorb something from the kill. A faint green-red energy flowed from the corpse into his armor, and even through the satellite feed, Batman could see the warrior stand straighter, move faster. He was healing, getting stronger, and from killing demons. Alfred, upgrade threat assessment to Omega level. This isn't a demon, this is something worse. What's worse than a demon, sir? Batman watched as the armored figure waded into a pack of 8 hellspawn, using only his fists. Bones shattered, flesh tore. One demon had its jaw ripped clean off before being used as a club to pulverize its companions. The brutality was surgical, efficient, and absolutely relentless. A demon hunter. The Slayer finished the last demon with a curb stomp that splattered Ikor across 20 feet of alley. He stood amid the carnage, visor scanning for more targets, weapons ready. Finding none, he began walking. Not searching, not exploring. Walking with purpose, as if following a scent only he could detect. He was hunting. Gotham City had a new predator. And somewhere in the shadows between dimensions, the demons who'd fled through the portal realized they hadn't escaped hell. They'd brought it with them. If you want to see more crossover battles and unexpected universe collisions, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character and universe you'd want to see in the comments below. Let's explore the infinite together. The Slayer's targeting system pinged. More demonic signatures, stronger this time, concentrated in the industrial district. He checked his ammunition. Super shotgun loaded, BFG 9000 at 60% charge, crucible blade ready, and began moving through Gotham's streets like a walking apocalypse. Behind him, the dimensional rift finally sealed itself with a sound like tearing reality. He didn't look back. He never did. There was only forward, only the mission. Not only the endless, glorious work of making hell pay for every soul it had ever taken. And in this new universe, hell was about to learn what true damnation felt like. The Batmobile screamed through Gotham streets at speeds that would terrify most drivers. Batman wasn't most drivers. He took a corner at 90 miles per hour, the vehicle's AI compensating for momentum, while his mind processed the tactical nightmare unfolding. Unknown armored hostile, extreme violence, hunting demons through his city. The complication: Gotham actually had a demon problem tonight. Reports were flooding in from GCPD, bizarre animal attacks in the industrial district, witnesses claiming to see monsters, 3 officers found traumatized and babbling about hell coming to Earth. Standard demon incursion, the kind that usually required a quiet call to Constantine or Zatanna. Low-level hellspawn testing dimensional barriers, probing for weaknesses. Now there was something hunting the hunters. Batman's gauntlet computer displayed the armored figure's projected path. Straight line. No deviation, following the demonic signatures with absolute precision, moving through obstacles rather than around them. He'd walked through a chain-link fence without slowing, leaving a man-sized hole in the metal. Kicked down a warehouse door that should have required a battering ram. This wasn't reconnaissance. This was extermination. Master Bruce, I'm reading elevated demonic activity at the Gotham chemical plant. Alfred's voice crackled through the comm. 17 distinct signatures, all converging on the location. It appears they're gathering in response to, well, him. They're preparing an ambush. Batman's jaw tightened. They think numbers will help. Will they? Batman reviewed the footage again, and the way the warrior moved. No wasted motion, perfect economy of violence, reactions that spoke of muscle memory drilled across millennia. He'd seen soldiers before. This was something beyond that. This was living weaponry. No. The Batmobile's sensors picked up weapons fire ahead, that distinctive roar of the double-barreled shotgun, followed by explosions that registered as plasma discharge. Batman killed the engine 3 blocks out and deployed the grapnel gun, taking to the rooftops. Some approaches required stealth. The Gotham chemical plant had been abandoned for 15 years, a rusting monument to corporate corruption and environmental disaster. Now it served as the stage for slaughter. The Slayer stood in the center of the main processing floor, surrounded by demon corpses in various states of destruction. Ichor pooled on concrete. Sulfurous smoke rose from charred remains. And still they came. Hellspawn pouring from shadows, crawling down walls, emerging from maintenance tunnels. Batman counted 18 demons. The warrior faced them alone, and he was smiling. Not that Batman could see his face through the helmet, but the body language screamed satisfaction. This was what he lived for. A demon, 7 feet of muscle, horns, and slavering jaws, charged from the left. The Slayer didn't even look. His left hand shot out, caught the creature by the throat mid-leap, and slammed it into the concrete hard enough to shatter the floor. Before it could recover, he drew a combat shotgun and fired point-blank into its skull. The explosion of gore and bone should have been the end of it. Instead, that same green-red energy flowed from the corpse into the Slayer's armor. His shields, damaged from earlier fights, regenerated instantly. The glow in his visor intensified. He was literally feeding on demon death. 2 more Hellspawn rushed from the right. The Slayer holstered the shotgun and met them with bare hands. The first caught a punch that caved in its rib cage. The second died when he grabbed its arm, spun it overhead, and used it as a flail to brain 3 more demons before ripping the limb off entirely and beating the original owner to death with its own appendage. Batman had seen Wonder Woman fight, had watched Superman dismantle Apocalypse forces. This was different. This wasn't heroism or even warfare. This was extermination performed with artistic precision. A larger demon, a genuine hell brute, the kind that required Justice League intervention, erupted from the floor, all muscle and fury and hell-forged rage. It stood 12 feet tall, arms thick as tree trunks, mouth full of teeth designed to rend steel. The Slayer drew the blade from his back. The weapon ignited with crimson energy, a sword made of solidified fury that hummed with reality-cutting power. Batman's visor immediately flagged it as critically dangerous, energy signatures off the scale, dimensional properties that shouldn't exist. The Hellbrute charged. The Slayer waited. At the last possible second, he sidestepped and then drove the crucible blade through the demon's chest. There was no resistance. The weapon cut through hell-forged flesh like it wasn't there, and the effect was instantaneous. The Hellbrute didn't just die, it disintegrated, molecules unraveling, existence erased. In 2 seconds, nothing remained but the echo of a scream, and the remaining demons stopped advancing. For the first time, Batman saw fear in their eyes. The Slayer deactivated the crucible, holstered it, and pulled out the double-barreled shotgun again. Message delivered. I don't need the special weapons. You're not worthy of them. Then he went back to work. Batman watched as the warrior waded into the remaining demons with methodical brutality. A shotgun blast obliterated one. A kick shattered another's spine. He grabbed a smaller demon, used it as a shield against acid spit from its companion, then hurled it hard enough to crater a support pillar. When a Hellspawn tried to flee, he drew a weapon that looked like a fusion of rifle and physics violation and fired. The projectile, pure argent energy, caught the demon mid-leap and reduced it to component atoms. 90 seconds later, silence. The Slayer stood amid absolute carnage, armor splattered with ichor, weapons smoking. His visor swept the room in systematic pattern, left to right, high to low, confirming every target eliminated. Then he did something that made Batman's blood run cold. He reloaded. not because he was out of ammunition, because this was a pause between battles, not an ending. He was preparing for the next fight, the next wave, the next target. This was routine for him. Batman stepped from the shadows. That's enough. The Slayer's head snapped toward him with predatory focus. The visor's glow intensified, scanning, analyzing, threat assessing. For 3 long seconds, neither moved. Then the Slayer turned away, dismissing him, and began walking toward the exit. I said that's enough. Batman's voice hardened. Gotham is under my protection. That includes jurisdiction over... He didn't see the Slayer move. One instant, the warrior was 10 feet away. The next, he was directly in front of Batman, visor inches from the cowl, radiating barely contained violence. Up close, Batman could see the details. Armor scratched by claws that could shred titanium. Scorch marks from weapons that made nuclear fire look tame. And beneath it all, an aura of absolute conviction. Nothing stops me. Nothing ever has. The Slayer stared at Batman for 5 seconds that felt like hours. Then he did something unexpected. He pointed at the demon corpses, then at Batman, then shook his head. The message was clear. You don't fight these. I do. Before Batman could respond, the Slayer's motion tracker pinged. His head tilted slightly, more demons somewhere in the distance. Without another glance at Batman, then he turned and launched himself through the warehouse wall, armor punching through brick and steel like cardboard. Batman stood alone in the charnel house, mind racing. The warrior hadn't spoken, hadn't threatened, had simply communicated and departed. Professional, in a way, purposeful, and completely, utterly unstoppable. Alfred, I need everything on dimensional incursions in the last 6 hours. And contact John Constantine. Tell him Gotham has a demon hunter, and I think he's going to kill anything even remotely connected to hell. That could be problematic, sir. Etrigan is scheduled to consult on the Arkham mystical containment upgrades tomorrow. Batman watched the Slayer-shaped hole in the wall. Cancel it. If this warrior encounters a demon, any demon, diplomacy won't be an option. In the distance, weapons fire echoed. Then screams, then silence. The hunt continued. Raven was meditating in Titan's tower when hell itself shuddered. The sensation hit her like a psychic sledgehammer. A wrongness rippling through the demonic dimensions. A disturbance in the infernal order that had remained constant for eons. Her eyes snapped open, glowing white with power, and the teacup on her nightstand exploded into porcelain shards. Azarath Metrion Zinthos, she whispered, trying to center herself. But the mantra offered no comfort. Something was killing demons, not banishing them, not sealing them. Killing them so thoroughly that their essence couldn't reform in hell, couldn't regenerate, couldn't respawn, according to the ancient laws. Permanent death. For beings that weren't supposed to die permanently. She extended her consciousness into the demonic planes, following the disturbance to its source. But what she found made her gasp. A presence, not demonic, but so soaked in hell's energy that it might as well be. A consciousness that burned with singular purpose, untainted by corruption despite millennia of exposure to forces that would break gods. And beneath it all, a hate so pure, so crystallized, that it had become something beyond emotion. It had become identity. This being didn't fight demons. It was the antithesis of demons, their natural predator, their ending given form. And he was here, on Earth, in Gotham. Raven teleported without conscious thought, shadow stepping through space directly to the source of the disturbance. She materialized on a rooftop in Gotham's Narrows and immediately wished she hadn't. Below, in an abandoned subway station, The Slayer was fighting a dozen demons. Mid-tier hellspawn was the kind that usually required coordinated superhero response, had converged on his position. They'd learned from their brethren's deaths, adapted tactics, tried ambush strategies. None of it mattered. The Slayer had switched to a weapon Raven had never seen before. An enormous gun that glowed with green energy, some fusion of technology and power that made her demonic senses scream warnings. He fired once. The blast was apocalyptic. A sphere of emerald plasma erupted from the barrel, expanding as it traveled, consuming everything in its path. 4 demons disintegrated instantly. The others tried to scatter, but the BFG 9000's tendrils of energy lashed out like living things, tracking each target, finding them behind cover, in shadows, mid-teleport. In 3 seconds, the entire pack ceased to exist. The Slayer lowered the weapon, steam rising from its barrel, and immediately began hunting for more targets. Raven felt Trigon's essence stir within her soul. The demonic blood she'd inherited from her father, the connection to hell she could never fully sever. And for the first time in her life, that part of her felt something it had never experienced. Fear. Wait! She teleported directly in front of him, hands raised, dark energy swirling. Stop! Not all demons are... The Slayer had the super shotgun aimed at her head before she could finish the sentence. They stared at each other. Raven could feel his finger tightening on the trigger, could sense the absolute certainty in his mind. Demon. Kill. No exceptions. No mercy. No hesitation. I'm half demon, she said quickly, voice steady despite the shotgun barrel inches from her face. My father is Trigon. I fight against him, against hell. I protect Earth. The Slayer didn't lower the weapon. His visor studied her with inhuman intensity, scanning, analyzing. She could feel him probing her essence, not with magic, but with pure instinct, honed across eons of demon hunting, reading her soul like a book written in blood. Raven let him look. Let him see the human half, her mother's love, her choice to be a hero, her endless struggle against the darkness within. Let him see the demonic half, Trigon's corruption, the portal she represented, the apocalypse she could bring. The shotgun lowered, slightly, but didn't holster. The Slayer pointed at her, then pointed at the ground, then made a throat-cutting gesture. The meaning was unmistakable. You stay here. You stay good, or I will end you. I've been fighting that battle my entire life, Raven said softly. Every day, I choose humanity over hell. Every day, I resist my father's will. I am not your enemy. The Slayer cocked his head, considering. Then he did something that shocked her. He tapped his chest armor twice, then pointed at her again. He was acknowledging her fight, recognizing a fellow soldier in the war against hell. But the shotgun still didn't holster. You can't kill every demon on Earth, Raven continued, carefully lowering her hands. Some serve as protectors. Etrigan guards humanity. Others are bound to service, trapped, enslaved by mages for centuries. And if you disrupt Hell's hierarchy too violently, you'll create a power vacuum that could... The Slayer shook his head firmly. Not interested. Don't care. They all die. You don't understand. The balance between dimensions is delicate. If you kill too many demons too quickly, the barriers weaken. More could pour through. Worse things, ancient things that make these hellspawn look like insects. The Slayer's response was to pull out the crucible blade and ignite it. The message was clear. Let them come. Raven felt a chill that had nothing to do with Gotham's night air. This being had fought worse, much worse, and won. The confidence wasn't arrogance. It was fact, written in the souls of countless demon lords who'd learned too late what true damnation meant. "At least let me help you," she offered. "I can sense demonic activity across the entire city. I can show you the real threats, the ones actively hunting humans. We can work together." A scream cut through the night. 3 blocks south, genuine terror in the sound. Human terror. The Slayer was moving before the echo faded, leaping from the subway entrance with superhuman strength, clearing 30 feet to land on the adjacent building. Raven shadow stepped after him, emerging on the same rooftop just as he surveyed the source. A cult. Of course it was a cult. In the ruins of an old church, 24 robed figures surrounded a summoning circle. Pentagrams drawn in blood, candles of human fat, chanting in languages that predated human civilization. And in the center, bound to an altar, a young woman, couldn't be more than 20, struggling against chains that burned with hellfire. They were summoning something big. Raven could feel the dimensional walls thinning, could sense something vast and malevolent pressing against reality, eager to burst through and feast. "Trigon's blood," she whispered. "They're summoning a Duke of Hell. That's 4th-tier demonic nobility. It'll slaughter hundreds before we can..." The Slayer jumped. No planning, no reconnaissance, no waiting for the optimal moment. He simply launched himself off the building, a ballistic trajectory that ended with him crashing through the church's rotted ceiling like the wrath of an angry god. He landed in the summoning circle, on purpose. The cultists scattered, screaming. The ritual broke. But the dimensional tear was already opening, and the Duke of Hell was already halfway through, all horns and wings and hellfire, manifesting with a roar that shattered stained glass. The demon was massive. 20 feet of muscle and malice, wreathed in flames that burned at temperatures that could melt steel. Its voice shook the foundations. "Who dares interrupt?" The Slayer shot it in the face with the BFG 9000. The Duke of Hell exploded. Not figuratively. Literally exploded into component particles, essence scattered across dimensions, existence terminated. 4th-tier demonic nobility, thousands of years old, repository of ancient evil and terrible knowledge. Dead in one shot. The cultists stood frozen, minds unable to process what they'd witnessed. Their dark god, their promised salvation, their path to power, erased like it had never existed. The Slayer turned to face them, reloading the BFG 9000 with mechanical precision. "Run," Raven advised from the ruined ceiling, shadows swirling around her. "He doesn't kill humans, usually. But you really don't want to be here when he decides what to do with demon worshippers." They ran, more scrambling over each other, abandoning robes and ritual implements, fleeing into Gotham's night with the kind of existential terror that would probably keep them from ever attempting dark magic again. The Slayer watched them go, then turned his attention to the woman on the altar. He approached carefully, the first time Raven had seen him move with anything resembling caution, and examined the chains, hell-forged iron, designed to burn anyone who touched them. He grabbed them barehanded and ripped them apart. The woman collapsed, sobbing, free but traumatized. The Slayer caught her before she hit the ground, surprisingly gentle, and carried her to the church entrance. He set her down carefully on the steps, then turned back to his hunt. "Wait," Raven called, teleporting to block his path. "At least tell me who you are, what you are, where you came from." The Slayer stared at her for a long moment. Then he reached up and tapped his helmet twice. The motion was almost ritualistic, like a soldier's salute to a fellow warrior. Then he was gone, leaping into the darkness, following the psychic trail of demons only he could sense with such precision. Raven stood in the ruined church, surrounded by the ashes of a Duke of Hell, and felt the multiverse shift slightly on its axis. Batman had been right to call her. This wasn't just a demon hunter. This was something far worse for Hell's denizens. This was hope. Terrible, unstoppable, absolutely relentless hope that every demon in existence could die permanently. And somewhere in the burning depths of Hell, ancient powers felt that hope and began to panic. John Constantine was having a very bad day, which was saying something for a man whose life was defined by bad days. He sat in a dive bar in Gotham's East End, nursing his third whiskey, trying very hard to ignore the frantic messages burning into his mystical answering service. Demons across 3 dimensions were screaming about something hunting them. Hell's bureaucracy was in chaos, and worst of all, Batman had called asking for his help, which meant Constantine was about to get dragged into something that would probably cost him another piece of his soul. The TV above the bar flickered to static, then resolved into an image that shouldn't exist on broadcast television. Security footage from the chemical plant. The Slayer, surrounded by demon corpses, methodically reloading while standing in a lake of ichor. Oh, bloody hell. Constantine muttered, recognizing the armor from old texts, forbidden grimoires that spoke of warriors who'd waged war against hell itself. That's not possible. He's not supposed to be real. Who's not real? The bartender, a warlock who owed Constantine 3 favors, leaned in, curious. The Doomslayer, the Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator. Constantine lit a cigarette with shaking hands. He's a myth, mate. A story demons tell their spawn to scare them into obedience. Be good, or the Slayer will find you. Except he's right there on the telly, making the myth very bloody real. The bartender paled. The one who killed the Dark Lord? That's just a legend. Legends don't leave body counts like that. Constantine drained his whiskey. I need to leave, now, before he... The bar's door exploded inward. Slayer stood in the doorway, visor glowing, weapons ready. His armor's sensors had led him here, to a location absolutely reeking of demonic contracts, infernal pacts, and the sulfurous stench of souls bartered for power. Every patron in the bar had made deals with hell. Every single one. Constantine slowly raised his hands, cigarette dangling from his lips. All right, mate. Let's all stay calm. Nobody needs to... The Slayer's shotgun swung toward him, and Constantine felt the barrel's heat even from 15 feet away. His extensive mystical senses screamed warnings. This being had killed demon lords, had walked through hell and emerged victorious, had ended things that gods feared to name, and Constantine had 3 separate demonic pacts tattooed into his very soul. I can explain, Constantine said quickly. See, the contracts are... The Slayer fired. The blast went over Constantine's shoulder and obliterated the bartender, who'd been stupid enough to try drawing a cursed blade. What had appeared human revealed its true form in death. A lesser demon wearing meat, exposed and destroyed. Constantine didn't move. Smart choice. The Slayer advanced into the bar, and chaos erupted. Half the patrons revealed themselves as demons, or demon-adjacent entities, trying to flee or fight. Neither strategy worked. The Slayer moved through them like a scythe through wheat. Shotgun blasts, melee attacks, brutal executions performed with assembly line efficiency. An imp tried teleporting away. The Slayer grabbed it mid-vanish, some aspect of his armor disrupting demonic magic, and slammed it through a table before curb-stomping its skull. A Cambion, half-demon hybrid, pulled a hellfire whip. The Slayer caught the whip bare-handed, yanked the demon forward, and introduced its face to his armored knee with terminal velocity. Constantine stayed very, very still, hands raised, praying to gods he didn't believe in that his human half was obvious enough to prevent immediate execution. The slaughter lasted 90 seconds. When it ended, Constantine was the only one still breathing. The Slayer turned to face him, visor studying the mage with predatory intensity. Constantine could feel the warrior's gaze piercing through flesh, reading the contracts, the demonic bindings, the pieces of soul he'd traded away. "Right," Constantine said, voice remarkably steady. "So here's the thing. Those contracts? They're not voluntary worship, mate. They're strategic. Icon demons, trick them, and use their own rules against them. Every pact I've made has been to save lives, stop apocalypses, protect humanity from..." The Slayer grabbed him by the throat and lifted him off the ground. Constantine gagged, feet dangling, staring into that pitiless visor. Up close, he could see the details. The scratches from claws that could rend dimensions, the burn marks from hellfire that made Earth's volcanoes look like candles. This armor had been through literal apocalypses and survived. "I'm on your side," Constantine choked out. The Slayer's grip tightened. His free hand moved to the crucible blade's hilt. "Wait!" A new voice, sharp and commanding. "Put him down." Zatanna stood in the bar's doorway, hands glowing with backward speech magic, ready to cast. Behind her, Dr. Fate floated, a golden helmet blazing with the power of Nabu. And behind them, Wonder Woman stood with the lasso of truth ready. "He's Constantine," Zatanna continued. "He's an asshole, but he fights for Earth. He's saved more lives than you can." The Slayer dropped Constantine, who collapsed, gasping. But the warrior didn't holster his weapons. Instead, he turned to face the newcomers, assessing threats, calculating combat variables. Dr. Fate spoke, Nabu's voice resonating with cosmic authority. "We mean you no harm, warrior. We seek only to understand your purpose and ensure..." The Slayer interrupted by drawing the BFG 9000. "Bloody hell, he's going to shoot Dr. Fate," Constantine rasped, crawling toward cover. "That's a Lord of Order, you mad bastard. You can't just..." Wonder Woman stepped forward, intercepting before violence could erupt. "I am Diana of Themyscira. We are champions of Earth, sworn to protect this realm from all threats. You have slain many demons tonight, and for that, we are grateful. But we must know, are you friend or foe?" The Slayer stared at her. His visor scanned her equipment. Amazonian armor, lasso of truth, bracers that could deflect Omega beams. Threat assessment, high. Combat capable, extremely. Demonic corruption, none. He lowered the BFG 9000, slightly. "We can help you," Wonder Woman continued, voice calm but firm. "Whatever mission brought you here, whatever purpose drives you, we share the goal of protecting innocence. Join us. Work with the Justice League. Together, we can..." The Slayer shook his head. Firm, absolute. No alliances, no teams, no compromises. Zatanna frowned. "You can't fight alone forever. There are threats on Earth that..." He pointed at the demon corpses littering the bar, then at himself, then made a sweeping gesture that encompassed everything. The message was brutally clear. "I've been fighting alone for eons. It's worked perfectly. I don't need you." "Pride," Dr. Fate intoned. "The warrior's pride will..." The Slayer's motion tracker pinged. Multiple demonic signatures, strong ones, converging on a location 12 blocks north. Industrial park, concentration suggesting organized activity, not random spawning. He moved toward the door. Wonder Woman blocked his path, not threatening, but immovable. "At least tell us your name, what you are, where you come from." The Slayer regarded her for a long moment. Then he did something unexpected. he reached up and tapped a control on his helmet. A holographic display flickered to life, showing rapidly cycling images. Hell dimensions, demon hordes, burning cities, endless war. And in the center, always, a single armored figure fighting against infinite darkness. No words. The images spoke for themselves. This is what I am. This is what I do. This is all I will ever be. The display shut off. He stepped around Wonder Woman, not rudely, but with absolute determination, and launched himself through the bar's wall, leaving a warrior-shaped hole in the brick. Constantine struggled to his feet, lighting another cigarette with trembling hands. Well, that went well. He's hunting something specific, Zatanna said, studying the departure trajectory. Not just killing random demons, he's following a pattern. Dr. Fate's helmet blazed brighter. The Lords of Order perceive his purpose. He seeks the source, the summoning point. Whatever opened the dimensional rift that brought him here, demons are still using it. He intends to close it. By killing everything on the other side, Constantine added. Typical. No subtlety, no magical ceiling, just murder everything until the problem stops existing. Wonder Woman's expression was troubled. We need to contact the League. Batman was right. This warrior is too dangerous to operate unsupervised. His methods are too extreme. If he encounters Etrigan or Raven or any of the entities we've formed alliances with. He already met Raven. Constantine interrupted, checking his mystical phone. Got a text from her 20 minutes ago. She's alive, which means he's got some capacity for discrimination. But she also said he nearly shot her on sight. Only reason she's still breathing is he recognized she was fighting her nature. Then we have a window, Zatanna said. Before he encounters something he can't or won't spare, we need to... An explosion lit up the northern sky. Green fire, the color of plasma and rage, rising like a mushroom cloud over the industrial district. Sod it all, Constantine muttered. He's using the big gun again. Wonder Woman was already moving, launching into flight. Zatanna, teleport Constantine to the watchtower. Brief the League, Dr. Fate, with me. We need to contain this before... Another explosion, larger this time. The shockwave rattled windows across 6 blocks. Before he starts a war, Wonder Diana finished grimly. In the industrial park, the Slayer stood amid the burning wreckage of a demon stronghold. 20 Hellspawn dead, 30, 40, and he'd lost count. They kept coming, kept trying, kept dying. And somewhere in the flames, something watched, something old, something that had followed the Hellwalker across dimensions because it had unfinished business. A voice like grinding stone and tortured souls. You cannot escape your fate, Slayer. Hell always finds its champions. Hell always collects its debts. The Slayer responded by reloading the BFG 9000 and walking toward the voice. He'd killed the speaker before. He'd kill it again, and as many times as necessary. Because that's what he did. It's all he'd ever done. And in this new universe, Hell was going to learn the same lesson it had learned in his own reality. The Doomslayer doesn't lose. He just chooses new battlefields. The Watchtower hung in geosynchronous orbit above Earth. Humanity's celestial guardian and the Justice League's command center. In the main conference room, 7 of Earth's mightiest heroes gathered around the holographic display showing Gotham's industrial district burning. Superman stood at the head of the table, arms crossed, jaw tight. Batman occupied his usual position in the shadows. Wonder Woman had just arrived via teleporter, still smelling of smoke and cordite. The Flash vibrated anxiously in his chair. Green Lantern Hal Jordan projected tactical overlays with his ring. Cyborg monitored global communications, and Aquaman looked deeply uncomfortable being this far from the ocean. "That's the fourth major engagement in 6 hours," Batman stated, pulling up footage. 43 confirmed demon kills, 0 human casualties. Extensive property damage, but he's deliberately avoiding civilian areas. "He's hurting them," Wonder Woman observed. "Drawing demonic forces away from populated zones before engaging. There's strategy here, not just mindless violence." The Flash leaned forward, watching the Slayer move through the footage at super speed. "Okay, can we talk about how fast this guy is? I mean, I know I'm fast, but his reaction time is insane. He's dodging attacks before they're even launched." "Predictive combat algorithms," Cyborg suggested, analyzing the armor's energy signatures. "His suit is processing thousands of combat scenarios per second, combined with what looks like centuries of muscle memory, and you get an unkillable murder machine," Hal Jordan finished. "Great. Just what Earth needs." Superman's expression remained troubled. He's not our enemy. Everything he's killed has been actively hostile to humanity. But his methods are effective," Batman interrupted. "Brutal, but effective. The demon incursions in Gotham have dropped 70% since his arrival. They're afraid." "Demons don't get afraid," Aquaman countered. "They're manifestations of primal evil. Fear isn't..." The holographic display flickered, showing new footage. A lesser demon, attempting to flee through a sewer grate, literally trembling as the Slayer's footsteps echoed closer. It was gibbering prayers to demon lords, begging for salvation. "They're afraid," Batman repeated quietly. Superman sighed, running a hand through his hair. "We need to make contact, establish communication, find out what he wants, what brought him here, and whether he's planning to leave or..." "He's not leaving." Constantine's voice crackled through the comm system. He'd teleported into the Watchtower's restricted section, unauthorized as always. At least not until he's killed every demon on this planet. Which is a problem, because unlike his universe, our demons are part of Earth's mystical ecosystem. The mage stumbled into the conference room, looking more disheveled than usual. He'd been drinking, heavily, and the League could smell sulfur on his coat. "Constantine," Batman acknowledged. "Report?" "Right. So I did some digging through texts that should have stayed buried." Constantine pulled out a flask, took a swig, then displayed a holographic tome from his mystical archive. The Doomslayer, also called the Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator, the Scourge of Hell. He's from another dimension where Hell tried to invade his reality. He didn't take it well. "Define didn't take it well," Superman asked. "He killed Hell. Not metaphorically, actually killed it, invaded the demon dimension, murdered every demon lord, destroyed their power structures, and hunted them across multiple realities. He's been fighting for thousands of years, maybe longer. Time works differently when you're rage incarnate stomping through hell." The room fell silent. "That's not possible," Hal Jordan finally said. "You can't just kill an entire dimension of..." "He did." Constantine pulled up images from forbidden texts, drawings of a green-armored warrior standing atop mountains of demon corpses, wielding weapons that defied physics. According to Hell's own records, yes, they keep records. Bureaucracy exists everywhere. He's got a kill count in the billions, with a B. Demon lords, Hell Knights, entire legions, gone. Permanently dead, which shouldn't even be possible for infernal entities. "How?" Wonder Woman asked, studying the ancient illustrations. "Demons respawn. Their essence returns to hell, reforms, regenerates. It's fundamental to their nature." not when he kills them. Constantine pointed to a passage in demonic script. Something about his weapons, his armor, the way he absorbs their energy. It destroys their essence completely. True death. The kind that scares immortal beings shitless. Cyborg pulled up analysis of the Slayer's equipment. I've been studying the energy signatures from his weapons. That big green gun, the BFG 9000, it's not just destructive. It's existentially destructive. It doesn't just disintegrate matter, it erases the quantum probability of the target ever existing. That sword, the Crucible, similar properties. It cuts through dimensional barriers like they're paper. Where did he get weapons like that? The Flash asked. Constantine laughed bitterly. According to legend, he took them. From Hell's own armories, from demon forges. He killed the smiths, stole their tools, and turned Hell's own weapons against it. There's a particularly nasty passage about him ripping the crucible from a titan's skull after beating the thing to death with his bare hands. Superman's expression darkened. And now he's here, in our universe, with those weapons, hunting our demons. Our demons, Batman emphasized, including entities we have treaties with. Etrigan serves Jason Blood, who's helped us countless times. Raven is half demon, but fights for humanity. There are bound demons providing magical services under strict controls. If he kills them all, we lose valuable assets, Wonder Woman finished, and potentially make an enemy of someone who killed an entire dimension. It's worse than that. Constantine pulled up another image, a map of Earth with mystical ley lines highlighted. Earth's magic depends on balance, light and dark, heaven and hell, order and chaos. If he tips the scales too far by eliminating all demonic influence, the backlash could tear the mystical barriers protecting our reality. Angels might invade to restore balance. Elder gods might notice the power vacuum. We could end up with something worse than demons. Hal Jordan created a construct diagram with his ring. So, what's the play? We can't let him continue unchecked, but we also can't exactly stop him. Batman, you encountered him directly. What's your assessment? Batman pulled up the warehouse footage, freezing on the moment the Slayer had stood inches from him. He's not insane, not corrupted. He's absolutely lucid, completely focused, and operating under a moral code. It's just that his code has exactly one rule. Demons die. No exceptions, no negotiations, no compromise. We need to show him the difference, Superman said firmly. Show him that our universe has nuance, that not everything demonic is evil. If we can just communicate. An alarm blared. Cyborg's eyes flashed red as tactical data flooded his systems. We've got a problem. Multiple demonic signatures converging on Metropolis. Big ones. His expression shifted to something approaching fear. No, it's Trigon. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 20 degrees. Trigon? Wonder Woman repeated. Raven's father. He's sealed in his dimension. The bindings should hold for another. The binding's breaking. Constantine's face had gone pale. All this demon killing, all this disruption to Hell's hierarchy, it's destabilized the seals. Trigon's taking advantage of the chaos to force his way through. Superman was already moving toward the teleporter. We mobilize immediately. Full League response. If Trigon manifests fully, he'll end the world. Constantine finished. Yeah, that's what he does. It's kind of his thing. Then we stop him. Wonder Woman summoned her lasso. Together, the League has faced Trigon before. We can... You can't. The voice came from the doorway. Raven stepped through, still wearing her cloak, on eyes glowing white with barely contained power. Not without help. My father is at full strength, using the dimensional instability as an anchor point. He's not sending an avatar or a projection. He's coming here personally. The Flash's nervous vibration intensified. Okay, so how bad is personally? World-ending bad, Raven said flatly. The last time Trigon manifested on Earth, it took every magic user on the planet plus the combined Justice League to barely seal him away. And that was when he was weakened. Now he's furious, empowered by chaos, and he knows exactly who's responsible for disrupting Hell's order. Batman's eyes narrowed. The Slayer. He's going to Metropolis, Raven confirmed, following the demonic signature straight into Trigon's manifestation point. He doesn't know what he's walking into. He doesn't understand the scale of power he's about to face. Then we get there first, Superman declared. Evacuate civilians, establish a perimeter, and intercept the Slayer before he... The Watchtower's sensors exploded with warnings. On the holographic display, Metropolis lit up like a Christmas tree. Demonic energy spiking off the charts, reality barriers shattering, dimensional walls crumbling. And in the center of it all, a tear in space 20 stories tall, bleeding red energy and malice. Trigon was coming. Cyborg's voice was grim, reading massive power surge. He's forcing the portal open, ETA to full manifestation, 4 minutes. How long until the Slayer reaches Metropolis? Batman asked. Raven closed her eyes, sensing. He's already there. On the screen, a single armored figure stood on a skyscraper rooftop, staring up at the dimensional tear. Even from orbit, they could see him checking his weapons, loading the BFG 9000, drawing the crucible blade, preparing to fight a demon lord powerful enough to conquer dimensions. Alone. Bloody hell, Constantine whispered. He's actually going to try it. He's going to try to kill Trigon. That's suicide, Hal Jordan protested. Trigon is nothing he hasn't killed before, Batman interrupted, studying the Slayer's body language. In his universe, he's fought demon lords. Hell's own nobility, maybe worse. To him, this is just another target. Superman's jaw set with determination. Then we make sure he doesn't die trying. Justice League, move out. We're going to war. As the heroes rushed to the teleporters, Constantine grabbed another drink from his flask and muttered a prayer to gods who'd stopped listening decades ago. Because in Metropolis, the sky was tearing open. A demon lord was manifesting. And Earth's only chance might be the one warrior nobody could control. The Slayer stood on the rooftop, BFG 9000 charged and ready, watching Trigon's massive form begin to emerge from the portal. 4 red eyes blazing with hellfire, horns that could pierce mountains, a body large enough to crush buildings underfoot. His motion tracker tagged the threat. Demon Lord. Priority, maximum. Threat level, catastrophic. The Slayer's response was to chamber a round in the super shotgun. Target acquired. Metropolis had seen its share of crises. Alien invasions, meta-human battles, the occasional visit from Darkseid. But nothing had prepared the city for the sky itself, splitting open like a wound, bleeding crimson energy that tasted of damnation. Trigon's manifestation wasn't subtle. The Demon Lord emerged from the dimensional tear with the inevitability of a nightmare made flesh. 4 stories tall and growing, skin red as arterial blood, muscles that could crack tectonic plates. 4 eyes burned with hellfire older than human civilization. His horns curved upward like obsidian scythes, each one large enough to impale a building. And his voice, when he spoke, reality itself trembled. At last, this realm falls to Trigon. Civilians screamed, fleeing through streets that buckled under the weight of his presence. Cars flipped from the shockwave. Windows shattered for blocks. The psychic pressure of pure malevolence made hardened police officers drop to their knees, weeping. On the rooftop of the Daily Planet building, the Doomslayer observed the target with clinical precision. His armor's threat assessment system was cycling through classifications. Demon Lord, Reality Warper, Dimensional Entity, Extreme Threat. He'd killed bigger. The Slayer raised the BFG 9000, aimed at Trigon's center mass, and fired. The emerald sphere of plasma launched across the distance, expanding as it traveled, tendrils of energy seeking the target. It struck Trigon square in the chest, with enough force to vaporize a city block. The Demon Lord staggered back one step, only one. Then Trigon looked down at the scorch mark on his chest and looked up at the rooftop where the Slayer stood and laughed. The sound shattered glass across 6 city blocks. "You dare? A mortal insect dares strike Trigon the Terrible?" The Slayer's response was to reload and fire again. This blast Trigon caught with his bare hand. The BFG sphere detonated against his palm, energy washing over him harmlessly, absorbed into his infernal power. He closed his fist, crushing the remaining plasma like it was nothing. "Amusing. I shall enjoy breaking you." Trigon raised one massive hand and unleashed hellfire. Not metaphorical flame, but actual fire from the deepest pits of hell. The kind that burns souls, not just flesh. The beam lanced across the distance, striking the Daily Planet building with apocalyptic force. The Slayer jumped. He cleared the rooftop a microsecond before the hellfire struck, launching himself toward an adjacent skyscraper as the Daily Planet's upper floors exploded into molten slag. He landed, rolled, came up firing, switching to the rocket launcher, then plasma rifle, walking fire across Trigon's massive form. Each shot would have leveled buildings. Against Trigon, they were insect bites. "Your weapons are meaningless. Your armor is paper. Your defiance is..." The Slayer closed the distance. In 3 impossible leaps between buildings, using his equipment launcher as a grappling system, he reached striking distance. And before Trigon could react, the Slayer deployed the crucible blade and drove it into the Demon Lord's shoulder. Trigon screamed. The sound was agony made audible. A Demon Lord experiencing true pain for the first time in millennia. The crucible's reality-cutting edge actually pierced his hide. He carved through infernal flesh, drew blood that burned like acid where it fell. But the blade couldn't go deep enough. Trigon was too massive, too powerful, his essence too vast to be severed by a single strike. He backhanded the Slayer with enough force to crater concrete, sending the warrior flying through the air like a missile. The Slayer crashed through 2 buildings before using his equipment launcher to arrest momentum. He landed in the street, armor smoking, shields flickering red. Damage warnings scrolled across his HUD. That blow had hurt, actually hurt, in a way nothing had since he'd fought the Khan Maker. Good. A real challenge. He charged back in. "Foolish. I am beyond your comprehension. I am Hell's chosen. I am..." The Slayer interrupted by launching himself off a tilted car hood, gaining altitude, and then firing a precision barrage directly into one of Trigon's eyes. The Demon Lord howled, clutching his face. The eye wasn't destroyed. He was too powerful for that. But it was damaged, blinded, streaming hellfire tears that ignited whatever they touched. "You will suffer for eternity. I will tear your soul from your body and..." A golden lasso wrapped around Trigon's arm. Wonder Woman had arrived, pulling with superhuman strength augmented by divine heritage. It didn't stop Trigon, but it arrested his attention. Behind her, Superman flew in at supersonic speed, delivering a punch to Trigon's jaw that would have shattered mountains. Trigon's head snapped to the side. slightly. "Justice League," Superman called out, circling for another strike. "Pattern Delta 7, keep him contained until—" Trigon grabbed Superman mid-flight. The Man of Steel struggled, heat vision blazing, but Trigon's grip was absolute. Hellfire washed over Kryptonian flesh, and Superman screamed, actually screamed, as infernal energy found the mystical vulnerability all Kryptonians shared. "Your sun-powered champion is weak against magic. Hell is the oldest magic. He is nothing." Wonder Woman yanked harder on the lasso, bracelets deflecting hellfire beams. "Release him, Trigon. My quarrel is with existence itself." The Slayer saw Superman struggling, saw the Kryptonian skin beginning to char, calculated trajectories and strike points. Then he did something the League didn't expect. He helped. A grenade, not explosive, but some kind of energy disruptor, arced through the air and detonated against Trigon's wrist. The Demon Lord's grip loosened for just a second, just long enough. Superman tore free, crashing into a building but alive. The Slayer was already moving, using the distraction to close distance again, this time targeting Trigon's legs with sustained plasma fire. "You saved Superman," Wonder Woman observed, fighting beside the Slayer now, lasso seeking purchase on Trigon's other arm. The Slayer didn't acknowledge her. No time, no need. The logic was simple. More warriors fighting the Demon Lord equals higher probability of success. Superman was fighting the demon. Therefore, Superman lives. Green constructs slammed into Trigon from above. Hal Jordan creating massive hammers, swords, tanks, anything with sufficient mass. "This guy is way above my pay grade. How the hell do we hurt him?" "You don't," Raven's voice echoed as she materialized from shadow, dark energy swirling. "He's my father. I'm the only one with the power to seal him, but I need time to—" Trigon's laugh shook the city. "Daughter, foolish daughter, you think to seal me again? I am at full power. I am—" The flash hit him, at near light speed, generating infinite mass punch, striking the same spot Superman had. Trigon staggered, and the ground beneath him cracked. "Okay, so we can hurt him," Flash called out, vibrating to avoid hellfire beams. "We just need to hit him really, really hard. Really, really often. For possibly forever, because he's not going down." Batman's voice crackled over the comm from a secure vantage point 3 blocks away. "Raven, how long for the sealing ritual?" 3 minutes. Maybe 4. I need him weakened and distracted." "We can do distracted," Cyborg announced, teleporting in with sonic cannon charged. "Diana, on Superman, Slayer, pattern formation Omega. We keep him focused, Raven does her thing, we end this before—" Trigon's body erupted with hellfire, a nova of infernal energy that forced everyone back. When it cleared, he'd grown, now 6 stories tall, power increasing with every second he remained manifested. "You cannot seal me. You cannot defeat me. I am Trigon. I am the end of all hope." The Slayer looked up at the towering Demon Lord, calculated the tactical situation, and came to a decision. He couldn't kill this. Not quickly. Not with these weapons. Trigon was too powerful, too vast, his essence spread across too many dimensions. Even the Crucible couldn't sever something this deeply rooted in reality. But he could do something else. The Slayer holstered his weapons and started climbing. "What's he doing?" Hal Jordan asked, on maintaining bombardment with his ring. Batman's voice was grim. "Something insane." The Slayer used grappling hooks, magnetized boots, and pure determination to scale Trigon's body. The Demon Lord tried to swat him off, but Superman and Wonder Woman coordinated strikes to keep his hands occupied. Hellfire washed over the Slayer's armor. Shields flickered, held, failed, regenerated. He kept climbing. Trigon finally noticed the insect on his body. "What are you?" The Slayer reached Trigon's face and drove the crucible blade directly into his skull. Not deep enough to kill. Nothing could kill Trigon in a single blow. But deep enough to hurt. Deep enough to create an anchor point. Deep enough to carve a wound that wouldn't close. Trigon's scream shattered windows across Metropolis. "Now!" Raven shouted, hands blazing with dark energy. "Azarath Metreon Zinthos!" The sealing ritual activated, mystical chains erupting from the ground, wrapping around Trigon's limbs. The demon lord thrashed, hellfire exploding outward. But the crucible blade in his skull disrupted his concentration, prevented him from mustering full power. "It took all of you!" Trigon roared, body beginning to dissolve back through the dimensional tear. "All of you to barely contain me. When I return..." The Slayer twisted the crucible blade. Trigon's threat became a shriek of agony as the reality-cutting weapon carved deeper, not killing but permanently scarring, leaving a wound that would hurt for eons. A reminder, a promise. "Next time, I'll kill you." The dimensional tear sealed with a thunderclap of displaced reality. Trigon's presence vanished, dragged back to his prison dimension by Raven's magic and the combined assault. The Slayer fell. 6 stories, armor smoking, shields completely depleted, weapons burned out. He hit the pavement hard enough to crater it, rolled, and immediately tried to stand. Superman landed beside him. "Easy, you're hurt. Let us..." The Slayer shoved him away, staggering to his feet through sheer will. His armor was scorched, one shoulder plate missing, visor cracked. But he was standing, still armed, still ready. "You helped us," Wonder Woman said, approaching carefully. "You saved Superman. You fought beside the Justice League." The Slayer stared at her through the cracked visor. Then he pointed at where Trigon had stood, then at himself, then made a throat-cutting gesture. "Message clear. I wasn't helping you. I was killing the demon. That's all I do. So the demon is my father," Raven said quietly, landing beside them. "And you wounded him. Permanently. Even sealed, he'll feel that crucible scar forever. You did what no one else could. You hurt him." The Slayer acknowledged this with a slight nod. Then his targeting system pinged. More demonic signatures, weaker ones, scattered across the city. Stragglers, lesser demons who'd come through during Trigon's manifestation. He started walking. "Wait," Superman called. "You're injured. Your armor is damaged. You need medical attention, repairs, rest." The Slayer kept walking, because demons don't rest, and neither do their hunters. The Watchtower's medical bay had never treated anyone quite like the Doomslayer. He hadn't wanted to come, had actively resisted when Superman suggested it. But when his armor's power core began flickering, actual system failures, not just cosmetic damage. Wonder Woman had physically carried him to the teleporter. He'd struggled, but fighting a demigoddess while his shields were offline and his weapons depleted wasn't tactically sound. Now he sat on a reinforced examination table, still fully armored, while Cyborg ran diagnostic scans and Batman watched from the shadows. "This technology is incredible," Cyborg muttered. Holographic displays showing the Praetor suit's internal systems. Self-repairing nanomachines, dimensional energy converters, shielding that adapts to different attack types. Sulky, it's like someone combined apocalyptian tech with new god science and threw in some physics I don't even recognize. The Slayer remained motionless, visor fixed on the door. ready to bolt the moment his systems came back online. "Your armor absorbed Trigon's hellfire," Batman said from the shadows. "Converted it to energy that's already repairing the damage. You're essentially healing by consuming the attacks that should have killed you." The Slayer didn't respond. Never did. "We need to talk about what happens next," Batman continued, stepping into the light. "You've destabilized Hell's hierarchy in our universe, killed dozens of demons, wounded Trigon himself. That has consequences." The Slayer's only response was to check his weapons. The BFG 9000 was offline, power core depleted. Crucible blade flickered weakly, a super shotgun operational but low on ammunition, not ideal, but functional. "You don't understand," Batman pressed. "In your universe, demons were invaders, pure evil. Here, they're part of the cosmic balance. Heaven and hell, order and chaos, light and dark. If you eliminate one side..." The Slayer stood abruptly, cutting him off. His armor's systems had restored to 40%. Good enough. "Where do you think you're going?" Cyborg asked, blocking the door. The Slayer pointed past him. "More demons to kill. Always more demons." "We can't let you continue unchecked," Batman said firmly. "The Justice League has protocols, rules of engagement. You're operating on our planet, which means..." The Slayer turned to face Batman directly. For a long moment, as they stared at each other, the world's greatest detective and the universe's most relentless killer. Then the Slayer did something unexpected. He pulled up a holographic display from his armor, showing footage. His footage. Memories stored in the Praetor suit systems. The images were hell, cities burning, millions dead, demons feasting on souls. A world called Earth, his Earth, consumed by infernal invasion. Women and children torn apart, soldiers overwhelmed, civilization ending in fire and screams. And through it all, one armored figure fighting, always fighting, losing ground, losing comrades, losing everything, until he stopped losing. The footage shifted. Training, enhancement, transformation. A warrior becoming something more, something unstoppable. Then the counter-invasion. Hell itself burning as he walked through it, and leaving only corpses and silence. "You're showing us why you do this," Batman realized. "Why you can't stop." The Slayer nodded once. Then he pointed at the current Earth through the watchtower's window. Then at the footage of his Earth burning. Then made a cutting gesture. "Never again." "Your world fell," Cyborg whispered, understanding dawning. "And you're making sure it never happens to anyone else." The Slayer's visor glowed brighter. "Affirmative." "But our Earth has defenders," Batman argued. "The Justice League, magic users. We've faced demon invasions before and stopped them. We have systems in place." The Slayer pulled up more footage. A massive demon, larger than Trigon, rampaging through his Earth. Heroes, that universe's heroes, trying to stop it. Failing, dying. One by one, the defenders fell, until he arrived, and the Slayer in the footage fought the Demon Lord for 6 hours straight. No backup, no rest, just relentless surgical violence, until the demon finally died. Permanently. "You don't trust anyone else to finish the job," Batman concluded, "because in your experience, they can't." The Slayer didn't nod. Didn't need to. The footage said everything. Before Batman could respond, alarms shrieked throughout the watchtower. Red lights flashed, automated defenses activated. "What the hell?" Cyborg's eyes blazed as he accessed the security systems. "We've got a breach. Someone just teleported directly into the..." The conference room doors exploded inward. Darkseid stood in the doorway. The Lord of Apocalypse filled the frame. 8 feet of living stone and malice. His eyes glowed red with Omega power, and his presence made reality bend. Behind him, are 3 massive parademons waited, drooling and eager. "So," Darkseid's voice rumbled like continental plates grinding. "This is the warrior who wounded Trigon, who slaughters demons with such efficiency, who carries weapons that interest even the lords of Apocalypse." The Slayer's weapons snapped up instantly. Super shotgun in one hand, damaged plasma rifle in the other. Threat assessment, maximum. Apocalyptic entity, Omega level. Good. He was ready for a real fight. "Stand down," Batman commanded, but he wasn't sure who he was talking to, the Slayer or Darkseid. Darkseid's eyes never left the armored warrior. "I have seen many weapons in my conquest of 1,000 worlds. But yours cut through dimensional barriers, pierce reality itself, where they would serve Apocalypse well." The Slayer's response was to aim the super shotgun directly at Darkseid's face. "You misunderstand," Darkseid continued, unfazed. "This is not a threat. This is an offer. Join Apocalypse. Serve the new god of tyranny. In exchange, I will give you what you truly desire. Access to every hell dimension in the multiverse. Coordinates, pathways, an endless supply of demons to kill." The offer hung in the air like poison. Batman stepped forward carefully. "Don't listen to him. Darkseid corrupts everything he touches. He'll use you as a weapon against demons," Darkseid interrupted. "Against hell itself. Against the infernal forces that plague countless worlds. Is this not what you desire, Slayer? An eternity of righteous slaughter?" The Slayer's finger tightened on the trigger. "You would have unlimited resources," Darkseid pressed. "Apocalyptian technology to enhance your weapons. Boom tube access to reach any dimension. Mother box support for dimensional tracking. Everything you need to wage war against hell across infinite realities." For the first time since arriving in this universe, the Slayer hesitated. The offer was tempting. Seductive even. Unlimited demon hunting. No restrictions. No heroes telling him to stop, to show mercy, to consider cosmic balance. Just an endless war against the forces he'd sworn to destroy. "Don't," Cyborg said quietly. "Whatever you're thinking, don't. Darkseid doesn't make deals. He makes slaves." "I make gods," Darkseid corrected. "From the worthy, I forge instruments of absolute power." "You could be such an instrument, Slayer. You could purge hell from reality itself. Permanently." The Slayer lowered his weapons. Batman's hand moved toward his utility belt. Cyborg powered up his sonic cannon. Both prepared for the worst, the Slayer accepting, becoming Darkseid's weapon, turning against Earth itself. Then the Slayer holstered the super shotgun and drew the crucible blade. The weapon ignited with crimson fury, reality cutting edge humming with lethal promise. The Slayer pointed it directly at Darkseid's chest. Message delivered. "I serve no one. I bow to nothing. Offer me the multiverse. I'll still kill you for trying to control me." Darkseid's expression didn't change, but something flickered in those burning eyes. Respect? Irritation? Perhaps both. "Interesting," the Lord of Apocalypse rumbled. "You have the will to defy even gods. This makes you dangerous, or useful, and I have not yet decided which." The Slayer took a step forward, crucible blade raised. "Not today," Darkseid stated. "Today I merely observe. But know this, Slayer, Apocalypse is watching. And when you inevitably need what only I can provide, you will remember this offer." A boom tube opened behind Darkseid, the distinctive sound of dimensional transit echoing through the watchtower. The Lord of Apocalypse stepped through, parademons following. Just before the portal closed, Darkseid spoke one last time. "The Justice League will betray you, warrior. They will choose cosmic balance over justice, diplomacy over destruction. And when they prevent you from finishing your holy work, remember, Apocalypse never stops its servants from completing their missions. The boom tube sealed. Silence filled the medical bay. "And you turned him down," Batman said finally. "You had a chance to access unlimited demon dimensions, unlimited targets, and you refused." The Slayer looked at Batman, then down at the crucible blade, then back. He made a simple gesture, drawing a line in the air, then pointing at himself. "I choose my own path, nobody else. Even if that path leads to conflict with us," Batman pressed. "Even if the Justice League has to stop you from killing demons we've allied with." The Slayer's visor glowed brighter. Then he made the throat-cutting gesture again. "All demons die. No exceptions, not even for you." Before Batman could respond, Wonder Woman's voice crackled through the comm. "We have a situation. John Constantine is calling an emergency meeting of all Earth's magical defenders. He says there's something we need to see. Something about Hell's reaction to the Slayer's presence." "On our way," Batman confirmed. He turned back to the Slayer. "You're coming too. Like it or not, you're part of this now." The Slayer checked his weapons. 45% power, ammunition reserves low but functional, and headed for the teleporter. Not because Batman told him to, because wherever magical defenders were gathering, demons would follow. And where demons went, the Slayer would be waiting. In the shadows of Apocalypse, Darkseid watched Earth through his viewing portals, a smile crossing his stone features. "Let the Slayer and the League tear each other apart," he murmured. "Let them destroy the balance between heaven and hell. And when the chaos reaches its peak, when Earth is desperate for order, any order, Apocalypse will be waiting." The game had begun, and the Doomslayer had just become its most dangerous piece. The House of Mystery existed outside normal space, a mystical sanctum that appeared where and when it was needed. Tonight, it manifested in a pocket dimension accessible only to Earth's magical defenders and to those they invited. The Slayer materialized through the teleporter directly into chaos. The main hall was packed with practitioners of the mystic arts. Zatanna stood near the fireplace, top hat askew, face pale. Dr. Fate hovered near the ceiling, Nabu's golden helmet blazing with concern. Madame Xanadu read tarot cards that kept bursting into flames. Deadman phased through walls, actually visible to everyone, a bad sign. Even Etrigan was present, the demon knight bound to Jason Blood's soul, rhyming irritably in the corner. And Constantine stood at the center, chain-smoking, gesturing at a massive scrying mirror that showed scenes from hell itself. "Right, everyone shut it," Constantine barked. "We've got about 5 minutes before this situation goes from catastrophically bad to extinction-level event, so listen carefully." The Slayer's weapons came up instantly when he spotted Etrigan. Demon, priority target. Wonder Woman grabbed his arm. "Wait, Jason Blood is human. Etrigan is bound to him, serves humanity. He's an ally." The Slayer didn't lower his weapons. Etrigan noticed, yellow eyes narrowing. "The Slayer comes with murder in his heart. Would end my rhyme before I even start." "Everyone stay calm," Batman ordered, stepping between them. "Slayer, you need to see what Constantine's discovered. It affects you directly." The scrying mirror flickered, showing Hell's landscape, or what remained of it. The demon dimension was in chaos. Entire regions burned with fires that consumed demon flesh. Lesser Hellspawn fled screaming from something unseen. And in the distance, massive shapes moved through the smoke. "That's Hell," Constantine explained. specifically the sectors connected to Earth. Notice anything missing? Zatanna answered quietly. The demons. The ones you killed. They're not respawning. Exactly. Constantine pulled up another image. A demon lord's throne room, empty and covered in blood. In normal circumstances, when demons die on Earth, their essence returns to hell. They reform, regenerate, come back. It's why demon hunting is a Sisyphean task. You never really win, just manage the problem. But the ones I killed stay dead. The Slayer's thoughts supplied, though he said nothing. But the ones he killed, Constantine pointed at the Slayer, are staying dead. Permanently. No reformation, no resurrection. Gone. And Hell's ruling council is absolutely losing their collective minds about it. The scrying mirror showed a gathering of demon lords. Massive entities, each powerful enough to threaten cities. They were arguing, screaming at each other in languages that made reality bleed. Dr. Fate's voice resonated with Nabu's power. The lords of Hell are divided. Some wish to seal Earth off permanently, cutting all dimensional connections to protect themselves. Others demand the Slayer's immediate destruction, regardless of cost. And the third faction? Batman asked. Constantine's expression darkened. The third faction wants to make a deal. The scrying mirror shifted, showing a figure that made everyone in the room tense. Not a demon lord. Something worse. Something older. Lucifer Morningstar. The devil himself sat in a throne of obsidian and screaming souls, looking bored but dangerous. First of the fallen, the Lightbringer. The being who'd rebelled against heaven and been given dominion over hell as punishment. Oh, bloody hell, Constantine whispered. He's taking personal interest. Who is that? Wonder Woman asked, though something in her divine heritage recognized the presence instinctively. That's the devil, Deadman supplied helpfully. Capital D, the actual, literal Satan, Lucifer Morningstar. And if he's getting involved, we're all monumentally screwed. Constantine finished. He turned to the Slayer. Mate, you need to understand something. Lucifer isn't like the other demons. And he's not just powerful, he's cosmic. Second only to the presence itself. He was an angel before he fell, one of the Morningstar host. He's got powers that make Trigon look like a minor nuisance. The Slayer's response was to check his BFG 9000's charge level. 60%. Not ideal, but functional. Did he just... Zatanna stared. Did he just check his weapons? You told him about Lucifer and he checked his weapons? He's killed worse, Batman said quietly. In his universe, he killed the Dark Lord of Hell. Whatever that was, it was probably comparable. Comparable? Constantine laughed hysterically. Mate, this is Lucifer. He created the concept of rebellion, forged the first demon from angel flesh. When he gets angry, dimensions crack. You can't just shoot him with... The scrying mirror flared to life. Lucifer stood. When hell itself bowed, demon lords prostrated themselves. Lesser demons fled or died from proximity to his presence. And when he spoke, his voice carried across dimensions directly into the House of Mystery. Doomslayer. Everyone froze. The temperature dropped. Reality bent slightly. I know you hear me, warrior. I know you're watching. Let us speak as soldiers, not enemies. Not yet. The Slayer stepped toward the mirror, weapons ready. Lucifer smiled, beautiful, terrible, genuinely amused. I've read your history, seen your deeds. You interest me, which is rare. Most beings are predictable, tedious, but you're something new. Don't listen to him, Wonder Woman warned. The Morningstar is the master of lies. He'll twist your thoughts. I never lie, Lucifer interrupted. gaze shifting to acknowledge her. It's beneath me. Oh, truth is so much more effective. His attention returned to the Slayer. You've killed 63 of my demons in 3 days, permanently. That shouldn't be possible. Yet here we are. You've disrupted my realm's natural order, created chaos among my vassals, and wounded Trigon, who technically owes me a favor, so thank you for that. The Slayer said nothing, just stared. Here's what I propose, Lucifer continued, leaning back on his throne. You stop killing my demons. In exchange, I don't erase you from existence. Simple trade. I get peace, you get to continue breathing. Everyone wins. The Slayer raised the BFG 9000 and aimed it at the mirror. Lucifer's smile widened. Or we do this the interesting way. I adore that option, actually. It's been eons since I've fought someone with genuine conviction. Most heroes are so conflicted, so burdened by morality. But you're pure, singular, magnificent in your simplicity. He's baiting you, Batman warned. Don't. Let's make this entertaining. Lucifer interrupted. I'll give you a sporting chance. 3 days. If you can survive 3 days while every demon in my realm hunts you, I'll concede. I'll seal Hell's borders, prevent any demon from entering Earth without my personal approval. You'll have won. Constantine choked on his cigarette. That's actually a good offer. If Hell seals its borders, we'd have peace from demonic incursions for decades, maybe centuries. And if he loses? Dr. Fate asked. Lucifer's expression became predatory. If he dies, and he will, despite his impressive resume, I claim his soul, and his armor, and his weapons. Technology that kills demons permanently, and I'd very much like to ensure nobody else acquires such tools. Don't accept, Wonder Diana pleaded. This is a trap. Lucifer doesn't make fair deals. There's always a catch, always. Actually, Constantine interrupted reluctantly. This might be our only option. The Slayer isn't going to stop killing demons voluntarily. We can't stop him. Trigon barely slowed him down. And if Lucifer decides to invade Earth personally, he took a long drag on his cigarette. We all die. Horribly. Permanently. There must be another way, Zatanna protested. There isn't, Madame Xanadu said softly, her tarot cards showing the same result repeatedly. The tower, inevitable destruction. The cards are clear. Either the Slayer accepts and we have a chance, or Lucifer declares war on Earth to protect his realm. And there is no middle path. The Slayer studied the devil through the scrying mirror, analyzed threat parameters, calculated odds. 3 days. Every demon in hell hunting him. Outnumbered billions to 1. No backup. No rest. Against an entity that predated human civilization. Tactically suicidal. Strategically perfect. The Slayer lowered the BFG 9000 and nodded once. Excellent. Lucifer clapped, genuinely delighted. Oh, this will be entertaining. 3 days, starting now. The scrying mirror exploded. Instantly, the House of Mystery's defenses activated. Wards blazed to life. Magical barriers reinforced. Every protective spell Constantine had layered over decades snapped into place. It wasn't enough. Demons poured through dimensional rifts like water through a broken dam. Not the lesser hellspawn the Slayer had been fighting, and these were elite warriors. Hell Knights, Baron of Hell, Archviles capable of resurrecting their fallen comrades. Dozens manifested in seconds, and more were coming. They're tracking him, Zatanna realized. They followed his energy signature directly here. The Slayer was already moving, super shotgun roaring. The first Hell Knight died before it fully materialized. The second lost its head to the crucible blade. The third managed to fire a plasma bolt before the Slayer's equipment launcher deployed a grenade that liquefied its internal organs. "Everyone out," Batman commanded. "Evacuate to secondary safe houses. The Slayer's drawn every demon in hell directly to this location." Etrigan leapt into battle, rhyming as he fought. "The demons come with fire and hate, but Jason blood shall seal their fate." The Slayer shot him, not fatally. The blast hit Etrigan's shoulder, spinning the demon knight around. But the message was clear: "Get out of my way." "You idiot!" Constantine shouted. "He's on our side." The Slayer didn't care. Demon, target, simple mathematics. Wonder Woman tackled the Slayer before he could finish Etrigan. "Enough! We're evacuating. You've brought Hell's entire army down on our heads." More demons poured through. Barons of Hell, 15 feet of muscle and firepower. Archviles wreathed in resurrection flames. And something bigger pushing through, a cyber demon, fusion of demon and machine, weapons that could level buildings. The House of Mystery's walls began cracking under the assault. "It's coming down," Deadman warned. "The entire pocket dimension is collapsing." Dr. Fate raised his hands, golden energy forming evacuation portals. "For everyone through, now!" The magical defenders fled, teleporting, phasing, dimension hopping away from the collapsing sanctum. Constantine grabbed his coat and bottle, Zatanna pulled Madame Xanadu through a portal. Etrigan limped after them, clutching his wounded shoulder. Batman and Wonder Woman remained, trying to drag the Slayer toward safety. He pulled free, because if he left, the demons would follow, would hunt him across Earth, killing anyone in their path, would turn the planet into a war zone. Better to make his stand here. Better to draw every demon in hell to one location and end them. "You can't fight them all," Wonder Woman shouted over the chaos. "Even you can't." The Slayer placed one hand on her shoulder, gentle, almost apologetic. Then he shoved her through Dr. Fate's portal. Batman tried to stay, but the House of Mystery's final collapse forced his retreat. The last thing he saw before the portal closed was the Slayer, standing alone in a pocket dimension, swarming with demons, weapons raised. Ready. Always ready. The portal sealed, and in the dying pocket dimension, surrounded by Hell's finest warriors, the Doomslayer began his 3-day war. Alone. Just the way he preferred it. 63 hours into Lucifer's challenge, Earth's mystics could only watch and bear witness. Constantine had established scrying points across 5 locations, each one showing a different angle of the pocket dimension where the Slayer fought. The space had been Hell's pocket dimension now. Lucifer had claimed the collapsing House of Mystery, transformed it into an arena designed specifically to kill one warrior. And that warrior refused to die. "Bloody fucking hell," Constantine whispered, watching the carnage unfold. The Slayer stood atop a mountain of demon corpses. Literally, 3 stories of dead Hell Knights, Baron of Hell, Archviles, and lesser demons stacked like cordwood. His armor was scorched black, one pauldron missing entirely, visor cracked so badly it was amazing the helmet still functioned. The BFG 9000 had burned out 12 hours ago. The crucible blade flickered weakly, its power cell nearly depleted. But he was still standing, still killing. A cyber demon, 20 feet of augmented demon with rocket launcher arms, charged through the demon corpse pile. The Slayer dodged the rockets with reflexes that shouldn't be possible for someone who'd been fighting non-stop for 63 hours, closed distance, and drove his bare fist through the cyber demon's chest cavity. He ripped out something vital, heart, power core, soul, all of the above, and the mechanical demon collapsed. The Slayer absorbed the kill energy, his armor's shields flickering back to 30%. He's healing from their deaths, Zatanna observed from the watchtower's observation deck where the Justice League had gathered. Every kill restores him. It's the only reason he's still alive. It's more than that, Batman said, analyzing combat patterns. He's adapting, learning. The demons try new tactics. He counters within minutes. They send different types. He adjusts his weapon usage. They're feeding him data with every wave, and he's becoming more efficient. Superman watched with troubled expression. He's been fighting for 3 days straight. No food, no water, no sleep. That's not humanly possible. He's not human, Wonder Woman replied quietly. Not anymore. Whatever the divinity machine did to him, it made him something beyond human. Something that literally cannot stop. On the scrying screens, a new wave materialized. Not random demons this time. Coordinated assault. Hell's actual military formations. Disciplined, trained. Led by a Hell priest wearing robes of flayed skin. And the Slayer recognized the threat immediately. His motion tracker tagged 47 demons, 3 Cyber Mancubi, and the Hell priest. Organized resistance. He responded by pulling out the last weapon he'd been saving, a blood punch. The technique required precise timing. Channel all remaining Argent energy into a single strike. Convert it to kinetic force. Release at point-blank range. The Slayer charged into the demon formation, dodged 17 simultaneous attacks, and drove his fist into the ground. The shockwave liquefied demons within 20 feet. The Cyber Mancubi staggered, armor cracking. The Hell Priest's protective wards shattered like glass. Then the Slayer was on him. The Hell Priest tried to teleport. The Slayer grabbed him mid-vanish. Some aspect of the Praetor suit's tech could disrupt demonic magic, and slammed him into the ground hard enough to crater the dimensional floor. The priest tried to speak a curse. The Slayer ripped his jaw off, making that impossible. Then came the glory kill. The Slayer hoisted the Hell Priest above his head and tore him in half. Literally ripped the demon's body at the spine, showering himself in ichor and entrails. The absorbed energy was massive. Hell Priests were high-tier entities, their death feeding enough power to restore his shields to 70% and partially recharge the crucible. That's disgusting, Flash muttered, looking away. That's survival, Batman corrected. He's managing his resources. Every kill restores him. The bigger the demon, the more energy. Where he's not being brutal for brutality's sake, he's being strategic. Cyborg pulled up data streams. I'm tracking the demon deployment rate. Lucifer started by sending hundreds per hour. Now it's up to thousands. The Slayer's kill count is exceeding Hell's replenishment rate. He's literally killing demons faster than Lucifer can send them. How many has he killed? Superman asked. In 63 hours, Cyborg calculated. Approximately 11,417. And counting. The watchtower fell silent. That's not possible, Green Lantern Hal Jordan finally said. Nobody kills 11,000 demons in 3 days. Nobody. He's doing more than killing them, Dr. Fate observed, golden helmet blazing as he analyzed the mystical energies. Every permanent death weakens Hell itself. The dimensional barriers are thinning. Lucifer's realm is destabilizing because the Slayer isn't just killing demons. He's erasing them from existence. Hell's power is literally decreasing. Constantine lit another cigarette with shaking hands. Lucifer made a mistake. He thought 3 days of constant assault would break the Slayer. He didn't realize the Slayer's been doing this for millennia. This isn't torture for him. This is Tuesday. On screen, the Slayer encountered something new. A marauder. The demon was different from the others. Humanoid. armored in dark metal similar to the Praetor's suit, carrying an axe that blazed with argent energy, and moving with combat skill that matched the Slayer's own. "What is that?" Wonder Woman asked. "A sentinel," Batman realized, accessing the data they'd gathered from the Slayer's armor broadcasts. In his universe, the Night Sentinels were an order of warriors who fought hell. Most died or were corrupted. That's a corrupted sentinel, a warrior who fell and became what he fought against. The Marauder spoke, voice distorted by corruption. "Heretic, you were never one of us. You were nothing but a usurper, a false idol." The Slayer's response was to ignite the crucible blade. The two warriors clashed. It was the first real fight the Slayer had faced in 3 days. The Marauder matched him move for move, blocked the crucible with his axe, countered shotgun blasts with energy shields, moved with equal speed and precision. They fought across the corpse mountain, exchanging blows that would kill normal beings instantly. "They're equals," Superman observed. "Well, actually equals. I've never seen anyone match the Slayer's combat skill before." The battle raged for 17 minutes. Both warriors bled. Both took damage that should have been fatal. The Marauder landed an axe blow that cracked the Slayer's chest plate. The Slayer responded with a shotgun blast that destroyed half the Marauder's helmet. Finally, an opening. The Marauder overextended on a swing. The Slayer sidestepped, grabbed the corrupted Sentinel's arm, and with brute strength honed across eons, ripped the limb off at the shoulder. The Marauder staggered. The Slayer drove the crucible through its chest. The corrupted Sentinel dissolved into ash, essence permanently erased. The Slayer stood panting, actually panting, the first sign of fatigue they'd seen, over the remains of his fallen brother in arms. For a moment, just a moment, his posture suggested something other than rage. Grief, regret, the knowledge that he'd killed what a fellow Sentinel had become. Then the moment passed. More demons were coming, always more demons. "Hour 64, Cyborg announced. 8 hours remaining until the challenge ends." "Can he last?" Flash asked. Everyone looked to Batman. "Yes," the Dark Knight said simply. "He'll last. The question isn't whether he survives. It's what happens when Lucifer realizes he's going to lose." As if summoned by the words, the scrying screens flickered. The pocket dimension sky, such as it was, tore open. And through that tear, Lucifer Morningstar himself descended. The devil had come to play. He materialized in the arena, immaculate in a white suit, not a hair out of place. Around him, demons stopped attacking. The entire assault ceased as Hell's warriors retreated, unwilling to be caught in proximity to what was about to happen. 64 hours, Lucifer said conversationally, as if discussing the weather. 11,493 demons killed. Permanently. You've cost me resources, territory, and considerable prestige. The other realms are laughing at me. Can you imagine? The Morningstar, bested by a mortal. The Slayer said nothing, just raised the super shotgun. Lucifer smiled. "Oh, I'm going to enjoy this." He moved. One instant, Lucifer stood 30 feet away. The next, he was directly in front of the Slayer, hand wrapped around the warrior's throat. The Slayer hadn't even seen him move. Faster than Flash, faster than Superman, faster than thought. Lucifer lifted the Slayer off the ground. "Did you really think you could challenge me? The Lightbringer, first of the fallen? I was breaking universes before your species learned to make fire." The Slayer grabbed Lucifer's wrist with both hands and pulled. Pulled with strength that could rip demon lords apart. Pulled with power that had torn through hell itself. Lucifer's grip didn't budge. "Cute," the devil said. Then he threw the slayer. The warrior flew across the arena, through the mountain of demon corpses, through the dimensional wall itself, impacting with force that would have vaporized normal matter. The slayer crashed through, rolled, came up bleeding from a dozen places. His armor was failing, shields offline, power core critical, weapons nearly depleted. And Lucifer was walking toward him, unhurried, inevitable as death itself. "I respect you." "A slayer," Lucifer called out. "Truly, you've exceeded every expectation. But respect doesn't equal mercy. You've forced me to intervene personally, which I find tiresome. So let's end this quickly, shall we?" The slayer struggled to his feet, drew the crucible blade, flickering, barely functional, but still operational. Lucifer laughed. "That weapon cuts through dimensions. Impressive. But I existed before dimensions, before reality, before the present spoke creation into being. Your little sword is just a..." The slayer threw it, not at Lucifer, at the dimensional anchor point, the mystical construct keeping the pocket dimension stable. The crucible blade pierced it perfectly, reality cutting edge severing the threads holding the space together. The pocket dimension began collapsing. "Clever," Lucifer admitted as the dimensional walls cracked and shattered. "You're trying to escape. Use the collapse to slip between dimensions. It won't work. I'll simply follow and..." The Watchtower's teleporter activated without authorization. The slayer materialized on the platform, armor smoking, bleeding from everywhere, weapons destroyed. He collapsed immediately, systems finally failing. Batman rushed forward. "How did he..." "I brought him back," a new voice said. Everyone spun to face the speaker. God stood in the Watchtower. Not a god, the presence, the voice, the being who created everything, manifesting as a simple, kind-faced old man in casual clothes. "Hello, Justice League," God said pleasantly. "Sorry to drop in unannounced. I was watching the fight and decided someone should probably stop Lucifer before he kills my favorite demon hunter." The Watchtower's atmosphere changed. Not metaphorically, literally changed. The air became charged with presence so absolute that even Superman felt the weight. Wonder Woman, daughter of Zeus, dropped to one knee instinctively. Dr. Fate's helmet blazed so brightly that Nabu's voice went silent, overwhelmed. God, the presence, the voice, the being above all beings in the DC multiverse, stood in the observation deck wearing a cardigan and slacks, looking like someone's kindly grandfather. "Please, get up," he said to Wonder Woman with genuine embarrassment. "All that kneeling makes me uncomfortable. I prefer conversations to worship." Batman, predictably, didn't kneel. "You're intervening. Why? You never intervene directly." "True," God admitted, walking over to where the Slayer lay unconscious, armor sparking. "I prefer to let mortals work things out themselves. Free will and all that. But this situation has become complicated." He knelt beside the Slayer, placing one hand on the damaged Praetor's suit. Instantly, the armor began repairing itself. Not healing, but actual reconstruction, technology and divine power working in concert. "What are you doing?" Cyborg asked, too shocked to be awed. "Fixing him. He's broken several important bones. His armor's power core is 3 seconds from catastrophic failure, and he hasn't slept in 3 days. Even enhanced warriors need basic maintenance." God looked up at the League with twinkling eyes. "Besides, I like him. He's got conviction. Doesn't pray, doesn't ask for help, just does the work. Refreshing, really." Constantine stumbled into the observation deck, took one look at God, and then immediately pulled out his flask. "Right. I need to be significantly more drunk for this conversation. John Constantine, God acknowledged. Still carrying all those demon contracts? You really should renegotiate those terms. The fine print is terrible. Wait. Superman stepped forward carefully. The Slayer challenged Lucifer to a 3-day trial. He was losing. Are you declaring the trial void? Oh no, God said, standing as the Slayer's armor completed its repairs. He won. Silence. He won? Flash repeated. But Lucifer was about to kill him. We all saw. The terms were, survive 3 days while every demon in hell hunts you. God explained patiently. Lucifer is not a demon. He's a fallen angel, completely different category. The moment Lucifer personally intervened, he violated the terms of his own challenge. God smiled. My son has always been clever with words, but he occasionally forgets I invented language. So the Slayer wins by technicality, Batman concluded. He wins by Lucifer's pride, God corrected. The Morningstar couldn't accept that a mortal might actually survive, so he intervened personally. Classic mistake. And according to the terms, Hell's borders must now be sealed. No demon may enter Earth without Lucifer's personal approval, which he's far too lazy to grant for every minor incursion. Wonder Woman's expression showed conflict. With respect presence, the Slayer has been killing demons indiscriminately. Some served humanity, some were bound and controlled. His methods are brutal, uncompromising, and completely sincere. God finished. Yes, he's not subtle, not diplomatic, not even particularly pleasant. But he's also not wrong. About what? Superman asked. God looked at the Man of Steel with ancient, knowing eyes. About what happens when you compromise with evil, when you negotiate with demons, when you accept necessary evils because fighting them is too hard, too costly, too complicated. He gestured to Constantine. John here has made 17 separate demon deals. Each time he told himself it was necessary, that the ends justified the means, and each time he sold a piece of his soul. Constantine flinched, but said nothing. The Slayer doesn't make deals, God continued, doesn't negotiate, doesn't accept that some evils are necessary. In his universe, that absolute conviction saved reality. Here, in a more nuanced universe, it creates problems. He looked down at the unconscious warrior, on which is why we need to talk about what happens next. The Slayer's eyes opened behind the repaired visor. He sat up immediately, systems online, weapons check automatically running. Then he registered God's presence and went very, very still. Hello, God said pleasantly. I'm the presence. You probably don't know me, different universe and all, but I'm the equivalent of whatever supreme being exists in your reality. Can you stand? The Slayer stood, wary, weapons within reach, but not drawn. Good. Now, we have a situation. God gestured, and suddenly the entire watchtower was somewhere else. Not physically moved, but existentially relocated to a space outside normal reality, where all of creation was visible as a vast tapestry. Your arrival has disrupted the balance. Hell is weakened. Heaven is concerned. The cosmic order is unstable, and several very powerful entities are trying to decide whether you're a threat that needs eliminating or a weapon they can control. Batman stepped forward. What are you proposing? A choice, God said simply, looking at the Slayer. You can stay here, in this universe, and continue your crusade. I won't stop you. But understand, this Earth has protectors who will oppose you when you threaten their allies. Demons they've made treaties with, entities they've decided are acceptable evils. You'll end up fighting the Justice League as often as you fight demons. The Slayer's hands clenched into fists. Or, God continued, I can send you home, back to your universe, your Earth, your fight. The dimensional rift that brought you here is still faintly active. I can reopen it, send you back, and seal it permanently so you're never pulled away again. Why are you offering this? Wonder Woman asked. You could simply command him to leave. Because he has free will, God replied. Same as all of you. I don't do commands, I do choices. He looked at the Slayer directly. So choose. Stay and fight a multiverse that doesn't share your absolutes, that will constantly compromise and negotiate and accept evils you find intolerable, or go home to a universe where your methods worked, where your crusade is understood. The Slayer stood silent for a long moment, visor studying the cosmic tapestry. In the vast weave of reality, he could see his universe, distant, separated by dimensional barriers, but still there, still his, still needing him. Then he saw this universe, Earth, Gotham, Metropolis, people he'd saved without ever intending to save them. Raven, fighting her father's influence. Constantine, drowning in demon deals. Civilians who'd survived because he'd drawn Hell's attention away from population centers. You helped us fight Trigon, Superman said quietly. You saved people. You could do more good here, working with us rather than against us. The Slayer shook his head. He pulled up his armor's holographic display, showing footage again. His Earth, the aftermath of Hell's invasion, cities still rebuilding, survivors still recovering, a world that needed its defender to return. You have a home? Batman realized. People depending on you, a fight that's yours. The Slayer nodded once. Then I'll send you back, God said gently. But first, he waved his hand, and suddenly they were standing in the Watchtower's armory. When the Slayer's weapons, the ones destroyed or depleted during the 3-day battle, lay on the table. Let me fix these. Can't send a warrior home with broken equipment. Unprofessional. God touched each weapon. The BFG 9000, the super shotgun, the crucible blade, the rocket launcher, all of them. Divine energy flowed into technology, repairing and enhancing simultaneously. When he finished, the weapons hummed with power they'd never possessed before. There, God said, satisfied. Now they'll work in any universe. Won't degrade, won't deplete, won't fail. Consider it a thank you gift for entertaining me. The fight with Lucifer was the most interesting thing that's happened in centuries. The Slayer picked up his weapons, checking each one, then looked at God with something approaching gratitude in his body language. Don't thank me. Just keep doing what you do. Protecting the innocent, killing the guilty, refusing to compromise. Your universe needs that. Needs you. God turned to the Justice League. And you all need to remember what he represents, what absolute conviction looks like. Not to emulate it. Your universe requires nuance he doesn't possess. But to remember that some evils really are evil, and some fights really are worth having. Constantine took a long drink. So we just let him leave? After all this chaos? Would you rather he stayed? God asked pointedly. Fair point. God opened a portal, not a boom tube or teleporter effect, but actual dimensional fabric parting to reveal the Slayer's universe on the other side. Through it, they could see hell. His hell, still burning, still fighting, still needing to be purged. Now your war continues, God said to the Slayer. Different dimension, same enemy. Good hunting. The Slayer walked toward the portal, then paused. He turned back to face the Justice League. For a moment, he looked at each of them. Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman, the others. Then he did something unexpected. He saluted, not mockingly, not ironically. A genuine soldier's salute, acknowledging fellow warriors, even if they'd never fully understand each other. Batman returned it. Then Superman. Then Wonder Woman. One by one, the League acknowledged the warrior who'd invaded their universe, killed thousands of demons, fought hell itself, and somehow earned their respect despite never compromising an inch. The Slayer turned and walked through the portal. It sealed behind him with finality, dimensional barriers reconstructing themselves, and the connection severing permanently. He was gone. The watchtower returned to normal reality. God was gone too, as if he'd never been there, except for the lingering sense of presence and the knowledge that they'd all just had a conversation with the supreme being of their universe. Well, Constantine said eventually, that was completely insane. He won, Cyborg said, still processing. He actually won. Beat Lucifer's challenge, survived Hell's army, and went home. More than that, Batman said quietly. He made Lucifer seal Hell's borders. Earth just gained protection from demonic incursion that we've never had before, because one warrior refused to accept compromise. Superman looked at where the portal had been. Do you think he'll be okay, back in his universe, still fighting alone? Wonder Woman smiled slightly. Or he's been fighting alone for millennia. I think he'll be fine. Question is, Flash asked, are we going to be fine? We just saw what pure, absolute conviction looks like. What unwavering refusal to compromise accomplishes. And honestly, part of me wonders if he's right and we're wrong. He's not right, Batman said firmly. Our universe is different. We need nuance, diplomacy, the ability to work with former enemies and accept shades of gray. But he paused, considering. He reminded us that some lines shouldn't be crossed. Some evils shouldn't be tolerated. Some fights are worth having, no matter the cost. Balance, Dr. Fate intoned, Nabu's voice finally returning. The Slayer represented absolute order against chaos, necessary in his universe, dangerous in ours. But his presence has recalibrated the scales. Hell fears Earth now. That fear buys us time, peace, safety. Paid for in 11,000 dead demons, Constantine muttered, lighting another cigarette. Bloody expensive peace. Worth it, Raven said quietly from the doorway. Everyone turned to see her standing there, having arrived via teleport during the confrontation. My father is terrified. I can feel it through our connection. Trigon, Lord of Hell, is actually afraid, because he knows what the Slayer represents, that demons can die, permanently, completely, that hell itself isn't invincible. Good, Superman said. Let him be afraid. Let all of hell be afraid. Maybe that fear prevents the next invasion, saves the next 1,000 lives. In the distance, Gotham's skyline glowed with dawn light. The city was already rebuilding from the battles, already moving forward, resilient as always. Somewhere in another universe, the Doomslayer loaded his weapons, checked his armor, and walked back into hell. Because demons don't stop, and neither do their hunters. The DC Universe would remember the 3 days the Doomslayer walked among them. Not as a hero, he'd never sought that title. Not as a villain, despite the chaos his presence caused. But as something else entirely. A force of nature, relentless and absolute, proving that some warriors don't fight for glory or recognition. They fight because the alternative is unthinkable. Lucifer honored the bargain because even the devil respects terms when witnessed by God himself. Hell's borders sealed. Demonic incursions dropped to nearly zero. The few demons still on Earth, Etrigan, others bound to service or genuinely reformed, lived with new caution, knowing what could happen if they strayed from their oaths. The Justice League returned to their duties, but changed. Batman's contingencies grew sharper and less willing to accept necessary evils without challenge. Superman's compassion remained, but tempered with understanding that some threats required absolute responses. Wonder Woman trained harder, remembering that even gods could bleed if struck with sufficient conviction. And Constantine? He spent 6 months renegotiating his demon contracts, finding loopholes, buying back pieces of his soul. The Slayer's example haunted him, not because it was right for everyone, but because it reminded him that slavery to hell was always a choice, even when it felt inevitable. Raven meditated in the ruins of the pocket dimension where the Slayer had made his stand. Among the mountains of demon corpses, now returned to hell's essence but leaving psychic imprints, she found something unexpected. Not carnage, not hatred, peace. And the Slayer had been at peace while fighting, had found his purpose, his meaning, his reason for existence in the endless war. It wasn't madness. It was clarity so pure it became transcendent. She didn't know whether to pity or envy him. In hell, demons whispered a new legend, not of their dark lords, their conquered realms, their eternal dominion, but of the warrior who proved demons could die, who walked through hell and left only silence, who rejected every offer, every compromise, every deal, and simply kept killing until hell itself bent to his will. They called him the Hellwalker, the Unchained Predator, the Doomslayer, and they prayed to their dark gods that he never returned. But in the back of every demon's mind, a new fear took root. What if he wasn't unique? What if other universes had warriors like him? What if hell's presumed immortality was just complacency waiting to be shattered? For the first time in eons, hell looked over its shoulder and found nothing but the echo of footsteps that promised always inevitable doom. The multiverse is infinite. More stories await.